Do you consider the fact that neither of these candidates ever discusses the deficit or debt? No, that is an issue. The question is, who's giving away more? It's a terrific giveaway. Yes, without a doubt. I take it she's increasing taxes. She was really direct. Even at 28% corporate income tax, it's still less expensive than, say, a tariff plus 20%. Personally, wouldn't you like to remain at 21? According to the contract, it has no bearing whatsoever on my business, anyone else, or anybody else. No, you need to examine both the revenue and the deficit. We should not pursue it there. I don't believe that's the location. So, where would you look for it? I would go ahead and tax the billions he borrows. Yes, but what do you know? When? And I'm not like that, am I? When interest rates were close to zero net effective rate, do you recognize the individuals you're referring to? Everyone did that since it was simple to do so if you couldn't earn more than 1% on your return. It seems illogical at the moment, when interest rates are 4 or 5%. She isn't against it, so you can do that, but it won't bring in as much money. I believe that taxes on stock buybacks may generate a lot more money. Additionally, because of taxes on stock buybacks, consider a company's financial structure. You do it if you have money to spend on R&D or anything else, right? You take action if you have a business to purchase, employees to hire, or anything else. You repurchase shares if you can't think of another way to invest your money. In other words, it's essentially saying, okay, let's tax the buybacks. This will provide a significant amount of income to help close the deficit. Either it will affect corporate practices or it will generate enormous revenue. Lear stated yesterday that while there were some successful stock buybacks, there were also many unsuccessful ones when prices were high. He brought out the fact that they are consistently bought back at high levels. However, you won't get the money you expected from it if it does that and alters company behavior. That's okay too. That implies that they are investing it or dispersing dividends, correct? So consider that. If it encourages them to pay dividends, which I also recommended, though I'm not sure if they will, instead of, say, a family of 4, I believe that dividends are tax-free if your income is less than $889,000, correct? Therefore, you increase that sum to $250,000 or $400,000 since, if a higher tax rate on stock buybacks encourages dividends, the money that enters the economy is truly tax-free. Do you recall the special billion-dollar dividend that Microsoft paid out 20 years ago? GDP was impacted by that. Therefore, it's not a bad thing for large corporations to reinvest dividends. And investors are now genuinely purchasing because they receive a return rather than merely hoping for a market increase. What are your thoughts on industrial policy? Investing heavily in a variety of sectors over the next 10 years was one of the topics she did discuss. Yes, continue. It's a different world, according to some, while others argue that we shouldn't have such an industrial policy since we've tried it before and it didn't work out. Our ability to invest in AI will ultimately determine our military might and position in the globe. The best military belongs to whoever wins AI. There is no doubt about that. The Department of Defense also makes a significant investment, even though private corporations do as well. We must take further action. Losing that battle would mean losing everything. Our currency is defined by it. It establishes the parameters of our global competition. Our military is defined by it. Therefore, it is essential to invest in that. Recently, a piece about that was released. It's been a year since the post-pandemic manufacturing boom, but it hasn't been good. For the last 3 years, things have been horrible. Since the IRA was approved in 2022, the index, or ISM, has been declining. Thus, there hasn't been any. All right, notice this. But Sindra, are you certain that this is what I'm afraid of? I'm afraid of that. Selecting winners and losers, yes. Yes, precisely. Intel. We choose Intel. Intel is currently unable to escape, but TSMC, is already producing semiconductors that are like 5 millimeters in size and 3 nano whatever it is. And it's necessary. Isn't that crucial? For U.S. security, that is crucial. However, you make a valid point when you say that 75% of firms employ fewer than 20 people. Approximately 4,000 businesses have more than 5 manufacturing businesses. Attempting to use a hammer, Donald Trump says, "You're the nail. I'm going to hit you with a 200% tariff." Harris, KLA, and John Deere are saying, "I'm going to give you incentives to manufacture more." Which do you believe will be more effective with businesses? Would you mind being under a hammer? Because their Chinese competitors are now less expensive than John Deere, when you impose a 200% tariff on John Deere and merely a 10% or 20% duty on them. It's also not that simple. I believe we've seen what transpired with Carrier. Back in 2016, they indicated that if you moved down, you would be subject to a 35% tariff and additional taxes. They simply manipulated the system. Isn't that what Carrier did? They simply let go of several workers. Do you believe that price gouging is the cause of any of the inflation highs that have occurred in the last 40 years? And do you care that this is the whole idea behind it? No, Joe, you're misunderstanding her words. Now I'm watching her advertisements. All well, then let's. Ads have been shown to you. Of course, yes. I'm going to stop. I'm going to. What do you believe triggered the 40-year during crisis? Do you believe that supermarket Jing played a role in it? No. You believe it was overstimulating a supply-constrained economy. Yes, B. Then, it seems to me that they are not telling the truth about this and are attempting to shift the blame to companies due to their track record. It remains significant. Another hurricane is on the horizon. Another tornado is on the horizon. Another natural calamity is on the horizon. And 37 states have already lost. Eventually, the market enters and exits. It doesn't. However, in the interim, 37 states have similar laws. Oh, and what happened? What are your thoughts on the credit cards? The credit card controls the credit card. Isn't that what socialist Donald Trump wants to do? Donald Trump is the only contender who has raised the issue of pricing restrictions. In one instance, we know exactly what his tariffs accomplished the first time: 1.9% inflation, even while we discuss what the tariffs will do. It was right there, and we know it. It was in that location. On the other hand, Mark, I continue to believe that immigration, particularly illegal immigration, is a major hindrance to many of the employment we have created. Natural-born people have not benefited in any way. I'm not arguing that I oppose immigration. We all adore immigration. We're all immigrants, thus it's made this way. All of us are descended from foreigners. You can't have an open southern border, though, in my opinion. No, I concur. She also concurs. It was exactly what she said. She had a. Well, but Joe, you are aware that many CEOs take over when the previous one departs for any reason, and their policies and methods are entirely different. That's simply how it operates. You follow your boss's instructions while you're second in command. You are given authority by him. However, she was intended to be the border, yes, but the same thing. His policies are to blame. He was saying to her, "You go down and you use diplomacy to try to improve, to try to reduce the flow of the migration of people across the border, correct?" I agreed that it took too long, but when they did eventually make it, have a look at the outcomes. Although it didn't take long, Trump's crossing numbers are the same as they were prior to the outbreak. Thus, it was successful. Therefore, her actions were effective. Correct. AI startups and tech behemoths alike are eagerly anticipating Nvidia's next Blackwell processor. Overnight, we learned that SoftBank, a Japanese AI company, will be the first to obtain them. At a Japanese AI summit, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang made the announcement. For today's Tech Check, let's look at Darabosa to see how their relationship has progressed to this point. Who else than Masan Diarra? Kelly, this statement was spot on for Masayoshi Son in every way. It essentially told the world that he and SoftBank will play a significant role in the generational change, or at the absolute least, make a strong run for it. However, it does pose a question for Nvidia. If there is a need for black,